Welcome to the Inquiring Cat Does Recruitment. Today I'm at Wellington College. Originally built as a national monument to the first Duke of Wellington in 1854, Wellington College is one of the world's top co-educational independent day and boarding schools. I'm here to meet Sir Anthony Seldon. He was Headmaster of Wellington College, but also of the independent schools Epsom College and Brighton College. In 2009 he set up the Wellington Academy, the first state school to carry the name of its founding independent school. He was also Vice-Chancellor of the University of Buckingham. He was the co-founder and first director of the Centre for Contemporary British History, is the co-founder of Action for Happiness, and is a governor of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and is on the board of a number of charities and educational bodies. Who better than Sir Anthony Seldon to talk to us today about careers in education?
Okay. So, Sir Anthony, thank you for the opportunity of meeting today here at Wellington College. You've been headmaster of three famous private schools. You set up the first independent-backed state school. You were Vice-Chancellor of Buckingham University. Who else could we talk to that would know so much about education? Now, when I was at school, I had some fantastic teachers. And
who were your best teachers?
People you know from your time at Epsom College, but in fact an English master, a biology master, and two economics masters that actually led to me having my career in business. It was the economics that really inspired me in that.
You need to have two economics masters so they can disagree with each other.
Yes, well, that's the truth of economics. And so I'm interested to know, why did you get into education as a career? And most importantly, how can we persuade youngsters today to take up this career, which is so vital for the future of the country?
Well, it's very nice to be talking, and I'm going to have to think why I did it, but let me say that I am very glad that I did it. I have spent, it's 40 years since I was at King's College London doing a then postgraduate certificate in education, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do when I was an undergraduate. I did a social science degree, interesting. It took me time to come around and think about teaching, and probably no coincidence that my partner at the time and then wife became a teacher also. I just think it is the best of all careers. And so I think I thought at the time, okay, I'll do it for a year, 2, 3, and if I don't like it, I'll do something else. Probably accept that contract at Liverpool to play in the up at centre forward, or become a rock star. I mean, those were the other options, just begging.
Right.
But I stayed in teaching, and that's Liverpool's and whoever Supertramp's loss. Supertramp, by the way, are an amazing band.
Well, some people might say you're a rock star in the education world. Yeah. So what are the challenges for somebody now thinking about coming into teaching? How has it changed, and what are the problems or challenges on the horizon of being a teacher today?
So I don't think that it's more difficult than it was. I don't think it's necessarily very difficult. I mean, what do you need? You have to be able to communicate. You are not a university academic who needs to be a brilliant scholar in physics or in English or in French. You need to be interested in your subject, but it's really acting. I mean, it's more acting than anything, in the sense you're not pretending to be something that you're not, but you're having to use the skills of communication. So be able to use your voice, be able to use your body be able to look at the class and to see, are they getting it? And to notice what's happening over here and what's over there. I think it is probably more difficult in the first year and probably 2 years than maybe if you went and became a pig farmer or a solicitor. But many jobs actually are difficult where you are learning about the importance. I mean, if you're being an undergraduate, you don't have to turn up on time to anything, and you don't have to dress in a certain way, and you can be in a terrible mood and everyone thinks that's fantastic, but you've got to be even at school. If you've had a bad night or a bad evening, the kids don't want to know. It's none of their business. You've just got to be the same. So emotional regulation, but the funny thing is it's not difficult to do that because they you're wanting to be the best for them. So I think there has to be love, and it's love of others, not yourself. If you are just trying to make an impression on them all the time, or you're watching the time and you can't wait for it to be Friday at 4 o'clock and then you're going to go off, then do something else, become a politician or something. But if you really love the kids that you've got and want them, what does love mean? It means caring for other people in a way that's totally without self-interest.
Yeah.
They can't give you anything, but you can help open a subject to them, open their eyes. You can help them believe that they can do things, and you can change their lives. Every single person I've ever met has favourite teachers. That's why I asked you, David, at the beginning, what your favourite teachers were. And they will be the people who made you believe in yourself. They won't be the people who just put squiggles over your work and it was obvious to you and it was probably obvious to them that they weren't really marking it. It wasn't the people who didn't answer the questions you asked or didn't show up when you asked to see them at the end of break. They were the people who were there for you and who rejoiced in your success, but without claiming it as their success. I mean, the best teachers, it's the success of the students that matters.
I certainly find when I go back to the college and speak to the sixth form about writing a knockout CV and all that kind of stuff, I find it tremendously rewarding, to see their attention level and smile on their face and the feedback I get afterwards.
There's something that egotists, people who are even narcissists, selfish people miss, which is that the joy in life comes not from you and your greatness or your money or your possessions. It comes from sharing. And why I think teaching is a fantastic career, notice that, fantastic career, is that it's about sharing. Yeah. So, and look, I don't want to be unfair to other professions. I mean, I'm sure it's fantastic being a lawyer, and I'm being unfair to lawyers. But whether you're in law or in business, whether you're an accountant, you're not going to have the same interactions. It won't be so obvious that you're helping people. You're auditing a company's books. You might have a good relationship with your team that you come in, they're working on with looking at that company's accounts, but you're not going to have the same sense of the accountants, the company's boss saying, "Wow, you've really made a difference. You've really helped make my life better," or the parents of the boss of the company saying things. I mean, I remember how rewarding the first parents' evening was. I was at school in Croydon in South London, and the parents' evening was just extraordinary because it was so affirming. The parents said things like, my child loves history, and wow, how much does that mean? How much money is that worth? And so you are making, I suppose it's related in that way to working in medicine, where you've delivered a child or helped to deliver a child, or maybe you've helped somebody with emotional and physical problems that they've had. It's obvious that you're making a difference, and that's what is very special about teaching. And there's another factor too, which is, if you are working in a bank in finance, then the people around you, you might have great mates, but they're not doing it because they love money or they love their clients. They're doing it because they want to make a lot of money and they want to get on to another job where they can make even more money and sometimes become even less happy. But in teaching, you are working with great people, slightly unfair to bankers there, but it's different working in a finance house to working in schools, because everybody, almost everybody, shares that same sense of wanting the best for the kids. It's not about you, it's about them. And the best teachers is always about them, it's always about the kids, it's always about what you're doing for them. And to be with people of great public spirit is very rewarding. And it's not just the teachers, it's the support staff, it's the people working in the kitchen.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
I mean, how strong is for a teacher, how important is that sort of school community?
Well, you have asked it. I think really important. I think it matters, depending on the kind of person you are. I mean, what do you want to do in life? Do you really want to make an awful lot of money? Why is that going to be, how many cars can you drive at the same time? How many rooms in your house can you occupy at the same time? How long does it take before you realise that people really aren't interested in you showing off about your possessions? They want to hear far more about the things that go wrong in your life rather than how stonking rich you are and how you have all this material.
I've never had that problem because I'm not stonking rich, so that's right.
Well,
It's all relative,
everything is relative. I mean, of course it is.
Yeah.
But you're not going to make a lot of money in teaching.
Yeah.
Physical money, but you'll make an awful lot of emotional money. You will be building a house within yourself which will be of inestimable value. And but some people can go into teaching and get it wrong. They can start with the wrong attitude, in which case they probably ought to leave and not go anywhere near kids.
You mentioned that first 2 years as being potentially challenging. Is discipline something that young teachers find hard to exercise across?
I'm not sure it's about discipline. You need discipline in any career that you go into. Becoming a pilot.
If you don't have a bunch of 15-year-olds breaking out in front of you into mayhem.
You have quite a lot of people behind you of all ages who will certainly break into mayhem if you're not doing your job properly. Flying the aircraft or talking to them in a respectful way over the intercom. So I think discipline is needed in all careers. I think it's about, you learn a lot about yourself about teaching. You can't hide. The kids, what you're hiding, the kids will see. And very quickly. So it's quite a unifying process. I was going to say also, by the way, that the best teachers not only start with the right attitude in teaching, i.e. that it's about the kids, but they continue with the right attitude. And some teachers, sadly, can start when they're in their 30s or 40s thinking that it's about me. So, didn't get a pay, didn't get a promotion, well, you might not have deserved them, or even if you did but didn't happen, get over it. It's not about you. They start thinking about, why should I do that? Is there going to be money if I do that for the kids? If I take them to a match on Saturday, is there going to be, why should I stay on for the evening? When am I going to go home? And you can hear them in the common room sometimes. They will be complaining. The best teachers don't complain. The best human beings don't complain.
What about people in mid-career changing from being a banker or chemist or whatever and going into teaching? Is a good idea?
It's a fantastic idea. Indeed, I would say, if you certainly want to teach, it's not a bad idea to go and do something else. But then it can be difficult if you bought a house, you've got a mortgage, and you're going to have to rethink your repayment plan if you come into schools, because you won't be getting as much as you do in many other professions. So some people who might have wanted to change, say, think, well, I'll do 10 years doing this, in PR or in the media, and then I'll change into teaching, find that they can't do it because the transition is too difficult and financially awkward. But I think it's a really good thing that people do, because the best teachers, don't forget your coffee, are people who have an experience outside of schools. You don't want to have people just who know about schools. I mean, what know they of England that only England knows? You can say the same thing about schools. Yeah. It's important and good to be outside. It's very important equally for lifers, who've been in schools and off to uni and then back into schools, to have an outside life, because it's rewarding and enriching to be doing things and not to be overwhelmed by how tired you are in the evening or weekends. I mean, get out there, do amazing things. The more amazing things you do, the more amazing things you'll have to be to the kids, if you can afford it. Lots of amazing things don't cost money to do.
Yes, you mentioned about the kids will see through you, and a young son of a friend of mine, he did the Teach First programme. Yeah. And on one of their first lectures, one of the things that the lecturer said is that you people need to clean up your social media profiles, because the students, the first thing they're going to do is go to your own Facebook page or whatever and see if there's anything there that is suitably scandalous or controversial, and you should be careful of that. And we're now moving into an area of AI in education, and I know you ran a big conference on that whole subject. Where is AI going to go with education and its impact on the teaching profession?
Yeah, I mean, look, on that, I don't think that anyone should put off teaching because there have been some dodgy posts and dodgy photographs of you. No. So I think the lecturer to those students is causing panic. I mean, most people, have photographs of them being drunk on social media and doing and saying things, and I think people price that in. And sure, I mean, clean up if things are necessary, but much more importantly than that, kids will see you, and if you try being something that you're not, they won't like it. They like people who are authentic, and they can tell very quickly if somebody's interested in them or not, and if it's about them or if it's about you. Now AI, well, sure, I mean, AI is the biggest thing that's happened to education, biggest thing that's happened to the world, the first technology that doesn't depend upon human programming, or first machines that don't need humans to set them going. They are thinking for themselves, and of course it's going to change every aspect of the way that we teach and learn. And one level, why would you want to go to a lesson at a school if you can on your own device have a lesson from a very brilliant physicist? Now, there are reasons why it's much better to be in the same physical space as your teacher and for them to form a personal relationship with you.
Yeah.
But we're not talking therefore about the end of teaching, the end of learning. We're talking about much more of a hybrid. But it's also changing the jobs that young people will do. I mean, there's rightly a real concern about where the jobs are going to come from and today, and will there be jobs for young people anywhere?
You know, I was at the TED conference in 2006 in Monterey when Ken English, the great educationalist, was speaking, and he said something I've never forgotten, which is the problem with being a teacher is that we're educating our children for a world of tomorrow that we don't know. And AI is perhaps the perfect example of that, because 5 years ago people weren't really thinking about it.
So yes, but we can't be startled in the headlines. We've got to, and neither can we spend lots of money, and most schools, state and independent, don't have money to invest in all the AI gizmos and virtual reality gizmos out there. It's hard to know. So I think if one keeps doing the basics as well as one can, integrating the new technologies as and when they become proven, but the world into which young people are going to be going will require more skills of being able to work collaboratively, being empathetic, understanding people. Yeah, sure, a doctor. I mean, training of doctors is very important, even if as a very famous medical school tells its students on the first day that they pitch up to turn to be doctors, you need to realise that half the things that you're going to learn in medical school will be shown to be wrong. It's just we don't know which half that is. So, there's always degrees of ignorance. We can always just do our best as we go forward and embrace AI, but the world out there is going to change. So schools need to become even more human places, even more joyful places, and then we can ensure we're doing our best for our young people. They are two schools at the moment are insufficiently delightful for young people. It doesn't mean to say that they need to be surrounded in cotton wool or treated in a way that isn't challenging for them. Young people want challenge. Young people want discipline. They want to know what the rules are. They want to know that kids can't get away with breaking the rules. They'll always test them. And if they see, it's a key lesson for a new teacher, if they see that somebody who's been mucking around the back row is going to be zapped, then they'll have respect for the teacher. If they see that the teacher either ignores it, doesn't notice it, or says, loses their cool, or says they're going to punish them but then doesn't, these are all not good things that don't give the class confidence in teachers. So there are obviously things to learn, but we can just do our best in the face of this biggest ever thing to hit teaching.
One of the things that's been said is that if the AI is going to be the imparter of more information, the role of the teacher will be to train people more in critical thinking, so that the information that's been gathered by the students off the internet needs to be more closely examined for its authenticity, its accuracy, and so on. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think that we've let schools become far too much about exams and learning of factual knowledge, which is important, obviously, really important, but it's not all important. We have done insufficiently to teach people social skills, problem-solving skills, collaborative skills, presentational skills, self-management, self-regulation skills, character virtues, including hard work and honesty. We've pushed all that away, let alone creativity and let alone sport. We've got to make schools delightful places with the arts, with creativity, but also with lots of boundaries and rules that are followed, and then kids will want to come into schools much more. There's a frighteningly high school refusal rate at the moment, with up to 25% of young people missing school. I mean,
and if they love their teachers, they want to come back.
You got it.
Yeah.
David, you were straight on the ball there. You saw that one. Absolutely. If they love the school, if they love the atmosphere, if they don't feel the atmosphere, they feel the atmosphere is bullying and nasty, and the bullies, the school isn't noticing that, and the bullies are throwing their weight around, even the bullies won't be happy, let alone anybody else. So schools have to be places of calm, places of acceptance, of warmth, of stimulus, bright, creative, caring places, and they can be the best schools.
There's a young man whose business I mentor, and he was at a local state school, and his teachers sort of wrote him off and said, "You'll never be anything." He moved to another state school for sixth form and got stunning results, and in fact was a very young member of Mensa, and it was all about the environment.
Well, that's very unusual to be, I mean, if you are a member of Mensa, you've got to have an IQ, which is what, in the top 1% of the nation, is it? I don't know the precise figure, but you've got to be incredibly unusually academically bright. Doesn't necessarily mean you'll be bright at other things, but being academically bright is obviously very important. And it's extraordinary that school didn't spot that. But, you know, schools, that they typecast people. They say this person is not bright, this person will never do well, and that then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We should never put these self-limiting labels on ourselves. You know, I'm no good at singing, I'm no good at making people laugh, I'm no good at, you know, X, Y, Z. And that then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
So clearly there was somebody who believed in that person when they went to their new school in the sixth form, and confidence grows. Confidence can grow enormously.
Well, they flew through a first-class honours degree with flying colours not that long later.
Right,
so,
very
fantastic.
good.
Sir Anthony, thank you so much for giving us these insights to life and education. I must say, from my own experience of going back and doing work with the sixth form, I sometimes wonder if I wouldn't have been better off being a teacher. I find it so rewarding.
You know what I'm going to say?
Yes, sir.
What am I going to say?
I don't know, sir.
I'm going to say it's never too late.
Yeah.
And there's this fantastic scheme, Teach Next, about for people, you know, in their 50s and 60s going in to schools. And one reason why it works is that the teachers want to do it, you know,
Sure.
and their infectious enthusiasm reminds people who may be in their 40s and 50s and maybe grown a bit cynical about it. It's reminded them that what a great profession it is, and the great teachers, it's the repetition that makes teachers dull and grow weary and leaden and disillusioned. The great teachers will be as energetic and creative and personable on their last day in the profession as they were on their very first. You can tell in people's faces.
Yeah.
Someone's got a grumpy, unaccepting, judgmental face. Ooh, you don't want to talk about that person. But what a privilege to have spent time in schools. What a fantastic career, and I think there is no better career that one could have than teaching.
Sir Anthony, thank you.
Thank you for
so
having me
much.
on.
Thank you so much. Brilliant.